Hey y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. So this week we are going to tackle fungible versus niche roles. Is it niche or is it niche? Argue amongst yourselves in the comments. I don't know. I call it niche. I don't know if that's right. Is that the bougie way of saying it? I have no idea. Anyway, let's dig in, shall we? So the reason why I think this is important and why I hope that it provides some insight to you, my beloved job-seeking community, is because this can impact how a company hires. I'm all about making sure y'all have the cheat codes and understanding the right questions to ask so that you can figure out how a company hires so that you are better able to show yourself as the solution to that hiring problem, right? Look, if you want to drive to Omaha, you're going to want to know how to get there. You're going to want to have like a GPS or a map or, know where all the good truck stops are, stop for some barbecue or whatever. I'm just saying, you want to be prepared. That's what we're talking about here. Okay. Fungible. I don't like this word. It's, how some people, oh my God, stuck. How some people hate the word moist? Like it makes you feel weird when people say it or moist. Ugh. I don't care. I don't mind moist. But some people are really bothered by it. Fungible is one of those words for me. Fungible actually makes me break out a little bit. It's a weird word. I don't like it. But I have, from time to time throughout my recruiting career, worked on fungible requisitions. So what do we mean by that in the recruiting sense? These are roles that are repeatable hiring that can plug and play into a variety of teams. A perfect example of this is big tech. I'm going to pick on Google again, as I occasionally do on this channel. I think that Google is a really good example of fungible hiring in some cases because they do, or at least when I was there, hire for the organization. And so if you are a, early career or even mid-career software engineer or, a SWE or an SDE or however you want to call that, you could plug and play into a variety of roles at Google. And Google actually hired according to that practice and that belief system. So if you look at open positions at Google, they are often what we call evergreen recs. So they list a generalized job description, multiple locations. And the reason why they do that is because they are looking for a large pool of applicants, people who are fungible and could plug and play into any number of software engineering roles at Google. So you could be considered for Google Play, you could be considered for GCP, you could be considered for YouTube. Like you could be a software engineer anywhere at Google if you pass the interview and, of course, hiring committee. So what does this mean for the job seeker? So first of all, understand, does this company hire more than one of what I do? That's a good indicator that they may be taking a fungible approach to recruiting and hiring. Sometimes that recruiting can feel a little more transactional. I will be very honest with you. I don't love fungible hiring as a recruiter for exactly that reason. It starts to feel a little bit more like a numbers game. It starts to feel a little more transactional. I'm maybe not having the direct one-to-one experience with the hiring manager. What I love, and we'll talk more about niche roles in a moment, but what I love about that is I really get to really dig deep with my business leaders and understanding what they're looking for and why. We're going to come back to that in a moment. But on the fungible side, this is again where we're relying a lot on a generalized fit. This is where we see a lot of maybe online assessments, an automated assessment, right? So you get picked for an interview process at a big company and they send you an OA. And I know a lot of people don't want to do those. A lot of engineers are like, don't bother, I'm not doing it. I don't believe in take-home assignments or I don't believe in homework. Okay, I get it. that opportunity is not for you. And that is absolutely okay. But just understand that the reason that companies are setting up a process like that is because they are hiring at scale. They're hiring a lot. Now, another example, because I don't want y'all to think this is specific to large companies. You might find it more often in large companies, but that doesn't mean that smaller outfits aren't doing it too. Another real world example I can give you is several companies ago, I worked for a company that had maybe about 800 people. So, I mean, a good sized company. It's not like tiny by any means, but it's much smaller than the companies I've worked for since. We had a very large sales team, and we had a university recruiting team, which was the funnel for our sales teams. So we would hire these fungible new account executives, a lot of times right out of school, and they would go through training and they would go through this, initial like 6-week program or whatever, and then they would be assigned to different teams. And so you had like government sales, and you had SMB sales, and you had enterprise sales, and you had all these different kinds of sales. And so depending on how you did through the interview process, how you did through the initial training, you would then be like, you would go work for a particular team. So that's another example of kind of this fungible model. So what does that mean for job seekers? Again, understand how that hiring happens. Understand, are there risks of, me maybe being offered a team I don't want? A lot of times team match, you do get a say in it. Like maybe you get to choose. Maybe there's 2 companies or 2 teams within a company that both want to make you an offer. Maybe you get to pick. I did that at Google a lot with my engineering managers, where I might have 2 or 3 teams that were interested. And so the candidate passed hiring committee, offer ready, what have you, would actually say, well, I really want to work for YouTube. That's really my goal. Okay, cool. YouTube has to want to hire you, but then we can make that happen. So that's fungible. On the other side, a niche role. This is a highly specialized one-time hire. These are my favorite kinds of hires. They suck because there's usually only one role, so I have to say no to a lot of people, and I don't like that. That is the benefit of fungible. There's usually another job right around the corner we could get you into. But for a niche role, it's like that job or bust. So that's kind of the downside there. But what I like about it is it does tend to be a much more strategic process. We are very carefully defining what is the problem we're trying to solve here? What is the actual needs of the role? We're writing really, hopefully, crisp, tight job descriptions, and we're going out like laser focused on finding the person who does the things. Now, again, one job, one recruiting process, right? Once we fill that role, I may have 2 or 3 or 5 silver medalists that I don't have a position for. I don't have anywhere else in the company that they could do this great work. So that's the downside of the niche roles. So I would say if I'm a job seeker and I'm exploring opportunities and I'm trying to understand, what are my odds? Where should I spend my time? What is this going to look like for me long term? Understand the number or volume of opportunity that might be available to me at different companies. And also understand if I am truly that niche type of talent, that means the opportunities might be fewer. What do you do with that information? Up to you, my friends, okay? I would look at recruiting in the same fashion, okay? I would consider myself, I'm obviously a very senior recruiter. I consider myself kind of a niche talent in some ways. And there are going to be some companies that will look at me that way. That will look at me as, wow, this is somebody with like very clear, specific, and deep expertise. This person is great at this thing. We're going to hire one person to do it. On the other hand, I might look at like larger companies, RPO situations, things like that, where I would be one of 100 recruiters. And I could plug and play into multiple teams or divisions or hiring problems. Look, I'm just saying, if I'm on the market and I need a job, I'm not about to get picky, okay? Not in this market. So I'm going to be open to both the fungible model and a niche model where I can really use the expertise that I've honed over 25 years, but who's counting? But again, I'm going to be open and I'm going to pay attention to what the market is telling me. Okay? We may find that fungible talent becomes more popular. We may find companies move that direction because they are taking, for better or worse, perhaps a more transactional approach, or kind of looking at, different ways to solve a larger talent problem. We may have companies start scaling back. We may have companies really start honing in on that highly specialized talent to do a specific thing. Your job as a job seeker is to figure out what companies are hiring, how, and where I can best show that I'm a fit for whichever kind of problem they're trying to solve. All right, y'all, lots more we could say on this topic, but I'm going to call it there. Hopefully this gave you enough insight to start asking those questions and understanding how this works with the companies that you want to work for. As always, if you have other questions about this, drop a comment down below. I try to read them all and respond to as many as I can. Let me know down below what you think, and we will see you next week.